Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Scary Stories by the Campfire. We are your counselors, Jeremy,
And Jason.
and welcome back to the Campfire. Hopefully, everybody's had a good week so far. I know we have. It's been a good time. We got to talk about the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie last week, and today we're going to be talking about the second one, Freddy's Revenge. Um, I know we had originally talked about wanting to do two movies tonight, but honestly, there was so much to talk about with this one, we felt it deserved its own episode. So, Jason, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little about what you thought of Freddy's Revenge.
Oh, Freddy's Revenge. I thought it. I thought it was a pretty good movie. It's probably not one of my favorites, and I think it more or less correlates with the fact that from a, it seems like it's a continuation of the first movie because there's references to Nancy and the house on Elm Street, but any of the rules that are established in later films, like Dream Warriors and so forth, really have nothing to do with this movie. I don't know if this movie was like supposed to be like maybe they just did a sequel to kind of end things. I have no idea how really to explain this movie. I know um it's kind of a standalone film. It wasn't that bad. It was interesting in the grand scheme of things, but just compared to the later Nightmare movies, it's just not my favorite.
It's funny that you say, it's kind of like it's standalone because I read this thing, I think it was earlier today actually, that it compares it to, it's the equivalent of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, where like it's kind of like it it's not canon, but it is canon a little bit because it's just got like those specs from the original, like dwiddled into it, but not really using any of the same material from the older or newer stuff. If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it's because I mean watching this movie, they do reference Nancy with the journal and her talking about Glenn, and of course the main character of this movie is Jesse Walsh, and they've moved into the Elm Street house, and uh, like I said, it picks and chooses its little pieces from the first movie, but it's been a while since I've watched the other movies, the later movies, and it's really drawing a blank in my head about maybe where they placed because I don't think they ever referenced this movie at all in any of the other ones. Like Jesse Walsh is this character who exists in this movie, and he doesn't exist in any of the other movies. I don't think. I could be wrong. They may, bring him up at some point, but I'm pretty sure they don't ever do.
I don't think they do either, and they it's kind of one of those things where New Line Cinema, when they took over the movie, um a fun fact for you, Wes Craven actually did not intend to make Freddy Krueger a horror franchise. He originally wanted it to be a one movie thing. Um, and the entire ending to the first movie, like the original version for the ending for the first movie, was supposed to be Nancy waking up, and everything that happened in the entire movie was one long dream. But it was the president of New Line Cinema who overruled him and added the ending that they put in the movie, giving Freddy that ability to come into a new movie and make that sequel. And it was these disagreements that actually caused Wes Craven to leave the franchise as a whole because he sold it to New Line Cinema after the first movie. And that's when the director changed from him to Jack Shoulder, who was actually
Hmm.
a cinematographer for the first movie.
Hmm. That I did not know.
I think that's why like
Uh,
this movie just kind of you have that tonal difference between this one and like the original and even other later ones, like that just difference in the way it's written, the way it plays out. Because I know I did read in one thing Jack Shoulder wanted, and Shea, the president, wanted to get rid of the whole dream part as a whole for this movie, and they were hoping it would stick for later movies. They wanted the whole dream thing to go away.
hmm.
I'm glad it didn't. Like I'm really glad it didn't, because that's kind of what makes Freddy Krueger Freddy Krueger. You know, it's that whole dream aspect. So, but let's dive a little bit deeper into this. Let's look at the characters comparatively to the first one. Um, so let's start with our main protagonist, with Jesse Walsh compared to Nancy. What do you think about Jesse?
Jesse. Jesse is an interesting character. It's interesting because he's become sort of this. Trying to find the right words.
Well, while you find that
Um,
really quick, good evening, Sam. Hope you're doing well. And Raven, welcome to the campfire. If y'all have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. We'll be glad to answer them throughout. Uh, but you were saying?
um, he's an interesting character. He seems. I don't. I'm trying to flash back to the movie and seeing if
Well, maybe this.
I don't know if he was I don't know if he was a stronger character than Nancy. I think I think I like Nancy a little bit better. I think it's because she had this plan. Like once she figured out what was going on and pieced it together that she could pull Freddy out of the dream world, um, she set up the final fight. Jesse, I just don't remember him being that strong of a character, I suppose.
I don't think he was strong as a character, but I think he did a good job with what he was given. I think with the script that he was given and the short time frame to film the movie, because the movie they projected the movie to release like 6 days short of a year after the first one was released into theaters. So it was a like the original came out I think on November 9th. They wanted this one to come out on November 3rd of the following year. So I think with what he was given, I think the actor himself did a decent job with what he was given. But I can't get over the screamy face that he makes at the beginning when he first sees Freddy and he's on the staircase. Yeah, I can't get over that scream. It was so
Yeah,
girly.
he does have a very I know in most horror movies they like to go with the final girl kind of trope. Um, and I know this movie has I mean, I when the movie came out it was kind of a mixed bag. I think people weren't as impressed with it back then as they are now. I know it's become this kind of cult classic, probably because of all the all the homoerotic stuff that happens in the movie. And like I said, the character is supposed to be the final guy. It's something that doesn't happen too often, which I don't know, might explain a lot of the kind of female aspects that he has. I mean, he's still a very interesting character, and it's an interesting concept to think of. Not just Freddy Krueger being able to walk into your dreams and kill you, but now he has this ability to just possess your body. He could just take it over and do as he pleases. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, the characters in it were, yeah, the characters were in it are all right. I mean, going back, you wanna think of well later characters as you start to think of. Probably Nancy's gonna be the biggest one because she just keeps getting referenced. Probably because she was the first final girl, but um, yeah, I the characters just really didn't stand out too much for me in this one.
What I did like about this one is they had a lot of comical elements that they try to lighten the mood a little bit um, with everything. You know, with all the creepy and eeriness that they try to put into the movie, they try to balance it with some, you know, a little bit of humor um, to kind of lighten it. Like the scene where the dark scene where he possesses Jesse to go into his sister's room. You know, you get that first person shot of him going into his sister's room, but you know, not too long before that, about 45 minutes to 30 minutes before that, you know, you get this beautiful dancing scene in his bedroom where his dad told him to clean his bedroom. And it was one of those laughter moments, just like, you know, him at the staircase. It was just funny. And fun fact for that one, that scene was actually a homage to Tom Cruise's Risky Business.
Hmm.
All the dancing.
That,
Um, but I like that lighter feel to the character. Instead of it being just serious the entire movie, he had those lighter moments to help kind of ease that tension.
no, Samuel says that he thinks Jesse was a cool character and being taken over by Freddy was sick. Probably my favorite in the series. Yeah, I would say he's probably the more he's not personally my favorite character, but I do agree that he does stand out. And I mean, it would be an interesting idea that maybe they explained him a little bit more, or maybe mentioned him. I was I was just looking up to see if maybe he had been mentioned or anything in one of the later films. I think they just kind of mentioned his name in like Freddy versus Jason.
That's interesting. What was really cool was the I read the people and maybe the fellow viewers around this little fire will get a kick out of this, but Jason, there were three other people who all auditioned to play Jesse in this movie. All three of which are actually pretty big names who I looking at them, I don't know if they could pull it off.
Oh boy, what do you got?
All right, so the first one is Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt
Brad Pitt?
auditioned to play Jesse in this movie.
Oh no,
Second
no.
was John Stamos.
Much probably a better choice than what. Actually, John Stamos could probably play the best friend. What was that guy's name?
Oh, his name is Ron. Rod?
Was it
Rod?
Ron?
Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was
Ron
something.
Grady. It's Ron Grady.
Grady.
Ron
Grady.
Grady. And
Grady.
then the
Yeah.
third one is From Heather's, Christian Slater.
Oh.
So here's a question for the viewers. Um, if you had to pick one of these three to play Jesse instead, who would it be? Let us know in the chat. And Jason, if you had to pick one of these three to play him instead, who would it be?
Oh.
Samuel says John Stamos.
John Stamos. I would say probably Christian Slater. I think he just fits kind of the I mean, looking at the images of Jesse here, um, I could probably see a little bit more of uh, maybe Christian Slater in there. Like I said, John Stamos may be the best friend kind of character, but yeah, Brad Pitt. I no, I can't see it. I can't. I just no.
A young Brad Pitt being a scream.
I
Yeah, no, I can't. I really.
I just no.
I think Christian. I agree with you on that one, and I think Samuel does too. Christian Slater, I think, would be the better option between the three. Um, God, that's so crazy to think about. It's so funny when you when you're looking up stuff and you're talking about these movies, and you read this stuff like of who auditioned to play these characters. And it's crazy to think about who could have possibly played them. And would they have been as good as what was here now and what we have? It's just crazy. And, looking at, later characters in the movie, Ron Grady, I could see, John Stamos playing that character. And oh God, I'm just imagining Christian Slater and John Stamos in the same movie.
Yeah, can we get a remake to this movie and have those two play him? Like, I mean, like right now. I want to see what that would look like.
That would be an interesting concept. So let's look at Glenn's comparable character for this one with Lisa Weber, played by Kim Myers. I think she did a little bit more in this than Glenn did. If it was just yelling and screaming, but she drove him to the plant. So she did one more thing than Glenn, just one. And she didn't die.
Well, I mean, I guess that's debatable depending on the ending. I mean, that's the problem with some of these movies. It's like the first movie ended with that segment where everyone got in the car and it was like an extended dream sequence, and that was supposed to be the end of the movie. Haha, Freddy still wins in the end, type of thing. And then you come into this movie, and it's left ambiguous because they only mention Nancy through the diary entries. They find her diary in the closet and they're reading through, and that's the only reference you get of Nancy. So you still don't know if Nancy is alive or if she's dead at this point. So the rules really don't apply the same as they do in later films, but it's kind of the same thing. I think at the end of this one, it turns into a bus ride and a drive out into the desert or whatever. Like very similar to the opening. The opening of the movie is it's like the same thing. He's on a bus, and here's the thing that gets me. They don't have like an established rule to these dream sequences. Because
really
like in
don't.
because in the first one, Nancy tells Glenn, she's like, "Hey, I gotta go find someone." So she goes to sleep, and it shows her walking around the neighborhood and walking down the street because she was going to the jail. But then she calls back to Glenn to make sure that he was, still watching out, and he comes out of the bushes. So is he in the dream world? Is he asleep in real life, or I don't get it. So in this one, at the beginning of the movie, Jesse's on the bus, and there's a group of kids on the bus, and then the bus pulls up to the first bus stop, lets most of the kids out except for like two girls, and then the bus takes off again, and the girls are like, "Hey, you missed our stop," and he just keeps on driving. So the girls are in that. If it's Jesse's dream, they're in his dream world too. I don't.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
do they
confuses me.
die? Do they if they die in that dream world? Do they die in real life too?
Yeah, sometimes that's what I don't get is like, how do those things happen? Because I'm pretty sure he can only really affect one person at a time. Maybe it changes later on, but I think they were still kind of working out the bugs in this franchise at the time.
Well, and let's get into those kills. Looking at these, um, I wasn't impressed by anything. Like there weren't there weren't many, but like none of them were more than a couple slashes, and that's about it.
I'm
One person got
I'm not
stabbed in the gut, and or two people, and that was about it.
yeah, I'm not I because I haven't rewatched some of the later movies, so I'm not going to say this is the tamest kills in the franchise, but so far compared to the first one, it's just a bunch of slashes. There's nothing really kind of creative about it. And considering that he's not working in dream world, he's actually possessing a human body in the real world. You can't get super creative with that. I don't think it's not like he can transform himself into a giant snake or
I don't know. He's able to
do
catch
some.
stuff on fire and keep a fence electrified.
Well, then I don't know. This movie makes no sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you talk about kills, if I asked you, Jeremy, I said out of all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, what what kill is your top one?
Ooh, that's a toughie. Hmm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you're not going to go with um
I'll tell you, it's
Ron getting stabbed or
no, it's
something.
nothing in this
There's
movie.
just
If I had to pick one, it would probably be from Dream Warriors, where he walks the person like a puppet off the top of the building.
yeah,
That one I think was really creative, and it always stuck with me from Dream Warriors, just because he's using like the actual muscle fibers as the strings to walk him, off the ledge. Uh, but yeah, no, there was nothing in this one that kind of, um,
stood out.
yeah. I mean, I think it's partially due to it being rushed. I think it could have been a lot more could have been done if they just weren't trying to get the movie out so fast. Uh, Samuel asked, "Is the second one the one where he overdoses that girl, Taryn? I think." No, this is not that one. Um,
No, that's Dream Warriors. That's the next one.
yeah, we'll be talking about
Yeah,
that one next week.
and that's what I do have to say about the first movie had probably the more iconic kills in it. I mean, when you think of Nightmare, you think of um,
Glenn.
the ceiling kill
Yep.
or the Johnny Depp bed pool. Um, but I think after, or at least during Dream Warriors and beyond, you start getting way more creative. It's like they almost make it into an art form. They're like, how do we kill this person? How do we do that to someone?
Yeah,
And
and I agree with that one. But one thing I can say about this movie that I thought did really well was the practical effects were better than the original. Um, the body mold of him coming out of Jesse, like coming out of his stomach, and I liked the practicality of the glove, since he's possessing somebody, of the finger knives actually coming out of the skin itself, and the hand being the glove itself. Um, and I think that like the practical effects and the makeup and the cosmetics were better than the first one, and that's the big thing that stands out to me in this one. Besides Jesse himself, is just those practical effects. Um, Samuel said, "That's right. I can't really think of anything from the second one that really stuck with me." And I think that's how a lot of people honestly feel. There's those couple of random moments we all remember, but the movie as a whole is a black sheep, and nothing really 100% sticks with you.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of this movie, and when I went and rewatched this movie, it was like almost watching a whole new movie because there was a lot of stuff that I completely just don't remember because it didn't stick very well. And like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's got a very interesting concept. I just think that because they decided they wanted to change back into the dream stuff by part three, this one kind of gets the short end of the stick because it just it doesn't shine.
I agree. And Ravenfire says the same thing, that it was a very tame movie. Um, but there are two iconic, lines that came from this movie. One of which was an idea from President Shea himself, which was the iconic where he peels his head and he tells Jesse that, you know, you've got the body, I've got the brain, and he peels his skin back, showing his brain. And just like the makeup and practical effects and that shadowing on it just makes it look, you know, creepy and terrifying, just like the original. And I like that they kept those aspects to Freddy um, as much as they could to help with that, keep that fear factor up, and kind of hone that dark part before we start getting into the more joking, more wisecracking Freddy.
Yeah, he definitely didn't. This was still like early Freddy, so he was very similar to his self in the first movie where you know, if he cracked the one liner, it was supposed to be a kind of a dark joke type of thing that only he was really kind of in on. But I'm 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 thinking that when they get to Dream Warriors and further on, the jokes become a little bit cornier, yes, but I think that's where Dream Warriors probably becomes like the masterpiece. And it's been a little while since I've seen it, so that may change my opinion. I may be looking at it through rose tinted glasses as just the nostalgic factor, but um, I think in Dream Warriors they really kind of perfect what Freddy Krueger is and how we actually remember him because he's got the creative kills in that one. He's got the creative one-liners that are actually kind of dark and funny instead of just being pop culture. And for the most part, most of the characters are relatively likable, you know, but we'll be discussing that next week. But yeah, so
Yeah,
all in all,
and the other, iconic line that came from this movie, and it's still used a lot when people reference Freddy, is the, "You are all my children," or "You are all now my children" scene at the poolside. But it's funny that, when we talk about um, these iconic scenes, that Robert England Well, first off, Robert Englund wasn't originally cast to play Freddy in this movie. New Line Cinema thought he wanted too much money, so they actually filmed uh, the beginning sequences without him, with a different person. And during the playbacks, they realized their words verbatim was, "He played him like Frankenstein. Give Robert whatever he wants." And
Okay.
they brought Robert Englund back, but they said he said Robert Englund during, I guess, the documentary said that there were several moments where, like, such as the pool sequence where Freddy appears to teenagers outside their dreams, and he struggled playing these parts because so much of it felt wrong. Like they were the type of things Freddy from the first Nightmare wouldn't do. So he said it was harder for himself to play these parts because of that, because he didn't think that this is what Freddy would do from the first movie. You know, he wouldn't be chasing these kids in a circle around the pool, taunting them and stabbing like one person. You know, it'd be a lot more than that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can agree with that. I think a lot of some of the aspects in this movie are. Um, I don't know if it was something that they dived into in the main Nightmare on Elm Street, or if it's just me remembering the remake. But I know it was an important aspect in the remake was that Freddy was systematically going around killing the kids of the parents who burned him. I don't know if that still, like I said, applies to these movies. I don't think so because Jesse's parents never went out and burned Freddy, but um, yeah, him just kind of popping up and just kind of killing kids at a pool just it didn't feel right. Yeah, I get where he's coming from. I can see why he wasn't um, entirely filling the role with so much out of character stuff.
And I think Samuel agrees with us that it wouldn't have been any good without Englund. Um, that's one of those roles that, like I was saying earlier, like you can't imagine somebody else playing. You can't imagine, it's hard to find someone who can play that iconic role. Now, he minded they did find a good replacement for the remake, but overall, like going back and watching these, it's hard to picture anybody else playing this iconic character. He just had a way about the character that just made it flow, like it became natural to him uh, as the movies progressed.
I I can agree with that, um, but I think between Robert England and uh, Jeremy, you know this one
The
that
actor's
played
name?
the remake.
I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I'll be honest. I always
Oh,
forget.
I'm gonna hate myself for this.
Can
Um,
anybody help us with this? The actor who plays Freddy Krueger in the remake? Hey, can we get an answer real quick before Jason looks it up?
uh, yeah, see who can go faster.
Clock is
Uh,
a ticking.
oh, Jackie Earl Haley, right?
Yep,
Is that
there
it?
it is.
I'm pretty
That's
sure it
right.
is. And I didn't even manage to. I haven't found it yet. It just popped in there. But both of them, in my opinion, play really good Freddys, and that's probably one of my favorite parts of the remake was that everyone's gonna remember Robert as the main Freddy, as you know, if you're comparing the two, they're gonna want to call him like the best Freddy. When he played the scary Freddy, like parts 1 and 2, he was scary to a certain extent. He wasn't like the most frightening villain I've ever seen, but where people really remember Robert Englund's Freddy is from like Dream Warriors Beyond when he's one-liners and he's got these creative kills. I think, and this is just my opinion, that the remake Freddy, if you're comparing old school Freddy, like original Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy, compared to remake Freddy's scary, and he makes references to scary stuff. Now, a lot of his lines are ripped from the uh, from the original movie, and that's probably just because of poor writing. They're just wanting to keep referencing stuff, but I mean, like I said, there was the scene where he's already killed one of his victims, and the victim is still in the dream world. And Freddy comes up to him and tells him that the brain is still alive like 2 or 3 minutes or something like that after the body's actually dead. We still got some time to play, and I'm like, oh my god, that is frightening. Not even can he kill you, but he can continue to torture you even after you're technically dead. And that's just creepy to me when old school, Freddy Krueger's just chasing you around with his long accordion arms and just kind of making like little laughy sounds.
And
But
I have to
but
agree, and I think that's when we get to the remake that darker. Jackie Earl Haley does play that darker tone a little bit better than Freddie or Robert Englund did. But and I think I know where you're going with this. Robert Englund does have. I don't think Jackie Earl Haley could have pulled off the newer style of Freddy Krueger
no,
that
no,
Robert Englund pulls off from
no.
the Dream Warriors, from the Dream Master, and New Nightmare and all that. So I think that was one of the good things that they did when they did the remake was keep that really, really dark tone because, like I said, Jackie Earl Haley couldn't pull off those dark tones. I mean,
And
those comical tones.
and going back, there's the Freddy in these movies is I think he's been referenced as a child killer.
Yes.
He is a child killer, and they may have like kind of hinted at him being like a child molester. They never said it in any of these movies. They just kind of maybe.
Yeah.
But in the new one, in the remake, um it is established that he was a child molester. And given some of the lines in the movie and the way he says it, that's what makes it so creepy. And you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's almost borderline gross. It's like, ugh, you're just creeping me out because that's some disgusting stuff you're saying there. And he has like no remorse about it, and it is definitely one of the creepier things.
Well, since
But
you brought it up, I think you should read what Samuel put about the nod to the original and say the line. I think you would. I think it's one of those lines that you're talking about
yeah, I mean,
where he's talking about how's that for a wet dream, and it's just like,
it
ugh,
do
okay.
does either movie actually like use that in some sort of context?
I don't
I
remember if
mean,
the original did or not. I know the cream. That's what he says in the remake.
yeah, I know he says that in the remake, and I know he said it in the original movie when she was running up the toothpaste stairs,
Oh yeah,
just trying to run up the stairs, sinking in. I think he comes in and says that, but it's just kind of a line that's there. It's not like anything that led up to it or anything. Now, it probably a little bit creepier in the remake, but I still think it's just an out of line context. It's just like it's a line that's there, but nothing built to it.
so I got a question for you. In the entirety of the first movie, did they ever say what town they're in?
I don't think they did. Did they? I don't think I ever heard them reference like what town they were in.
They didn't. they said Elm Street, but they never actually said where they were at. It wasn't until this movie that they decided they were going to be in Springwood, Ohio, and where the movie.
Ohio. Why was I thinking it was like Illinois or something? Yeah, I know it was a state with an I. But
It is very gross,
here's
Sam, by the way.
here's the funny thing. Is it just the one Elm Street? Could it be like any Elm Street? Some kids dreaming somewhere on an Elm Street
In New York
in,
City, Freddy
in New
takes New
York.
York.
Freddy jumps out. He's like, "Ah!" The kid's like, "Hey, in New York," or something like that. Like horrible New York accent. But Freddy's like, "Oh, this is the wrong Elm Street." And he keeps just hopping from dream to dream, trying to find the right Elm Street.
But
That'd be
is he like hooked to that one house too? Like, is that like? Because everything seems to always happen in that house.
it's and yeah, I mean,
I mean, even in Freddy
like
versus Jason, they go right back to that house.
yeah, but I don't know if it had something to do with uh, his powers are never like truly explained. It's like one minute he's this guy, he haunts you in his dream or haunts you in your dreams, and then second movie he's possessing people. The third movie, no, we're going back to the dream thing, and then later on you're like later on in the movie it's like or later movies it's no, he actually got his powers from dream demons. They gave him the power to do this, and uh, I think in the remake they don't. In the remake, they never explain how he does it, uh, but he purposefully targets the kids of the parents because he was molesting most of these kids at this.
The orphanage.
So,
Or
was it
no,
an
no,
or
it was an
it
elementary
is a
school.
school. It's like a
In the remake, it
yeah,
was
it's
an
like a
elementary school.
yeah, it's like a preschool or something like that.
Yeah.
It's and the parents are outraged by it, and they burn him alive. So to exact his revenge on them, he's going around killing all their kids, all the kids that were involved in that one class. This one, it doesn't really, it never explains anything. I mean, they in the first movie, it was like some of the parents who ended up killing him.
Yeah, and they
After they.
explained that the only homage that they did was tell him that he is a child killer, and that he
Mhm.
took him to the power plant, and that's where he killed him at because that's where he worked. Um, so ranking on a scale of 1 to 10, Jason, what do you give A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2: Freddy's Revenge? And guys around the campfire, let's hear your ranking on a scale of 1 to 10. How do y'all rate this black sheep of a movie?
Let me see. I gave the first movie what, a 7?
Yeah, and I gave
I'm
it
gonna
like
have
a
to start
seven
writing
and a
these
half.
down. There's too many of these movies. I'm gonna have to write these things down so I can remember them. I'm gonna give this movie. I'm gonna give this movie a 6.
A six?
One step. I'm gonna give it a 6, one step below because the idea is interesting. Um, I think some of the stuff is out of character for Freddy, but
Exploding
do
parakeet. That was out of character.
and I like how the dad's like
You put a
dad was
cherry
like
bomb in
believing
it.
his.
You planted
Yeah, why
it.
you put cherry bombs in the parakeets? I mean, like, um, but
Oh, that was great.
I do like the aspect of possession. Now, that does kind of degrade the movie a little bit now that they've gone beyond that, and he's never done that before. Not, I guess, not before and not since. Um, the characters, the characters were interesting. Um, I know it's big. It's a big movie in the gay community with all the stuff that was going on in it. Um, whether it was, I think most of it was relatively intentional, but there's but I just don't think the characters were as strong as recognizable, I should say, as Nancy. I think just her alone being in more than one movie kind of outpaces this one a little bit. There was
So Sam gives it a 5 because taking over Jesse's body was cool, and um, it's weird.
right.
Like my opinion on this one is going to be kind of weird because like I think if I would have been around like alive when this movie first came out, I'd give it a higher rating. But just because everything else has already came out since then, and this is kind of like that oddball movie that's just kind of out there in left field, um, I think I'm gonna have to agree and give it a 6. I did like I said, the darker tones of it. I did like, Freddy himself. I thought they did really cool with that. What I did not appreciate, unfortunately, was in the entire movie, Freddy Krueger is only in it for 13 minutes.
Wait, what?
Total time that Freddy Krueger is on screen in this movie is 13 minutes. An
That
hour
is
and 35-minute movie, and he is literally on screen for 13 minutes total.
wow,
And
not very
most of it
much
is
of
in
a
that last little bit.
not much of a revenge there, buddy.
So I think if it hadn't have been rushed to get out, I think they could have done something a little bit cooler with it. Um, and honestly, watching Lisa kiss Freddy at the end was kind of grody. Not even gonna lie, Grady, Grody. But I give it a 6. Like I said, the characters weren't. Um, they were memorable, but they're not at the same time. Like you remember them because it's that black sheep of a movie, but they really didn't do a whole lot to be remembered for. And the body possession was cool. I wish that they in the later movies they'd kind of tie that into his dream sequences, and how that affects him, um, and how he was able to do that. But unfortunately, we don't get that. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. 6 out of 10. I think that's good.
Yeah, I think a lot of these movies they don't ever really explain anything. Um, yeah. Oh, Raven just came in. Uh, she said physical items have spirits tied to them, so maybe his knives that both movies have in the house is helping keeping him in that. That makes sense. Remember, he had the claws. He found the claws in the what was it, the incinerator or whatever they had in the basement, the
A
heater thing,
furnace.
the furnace. So that could have been what was keeping him in the house.
And Sam says accurate. So I agree. Raven actually might be onto something, diving a little bit deeper into it than we did. Um, uh, Everybody else, let us know what you thought of the movie.
Ah, Ra- Raven, you gotta give us a rating there. You gotta on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you think of it? What do you think of the movie? I mean, you are making some mean points there.
I know you
So when
can't
they,
tie in your opinion and then not give the rest of it. Anybody else who wants
yeah,
to give us their rating on it, let us know. While she types that out, though, just know I think we're gonna do it next Monday. A
four,
4.
a 4. She did not like this one.
Uh,
Did not like this one.
well, I think we're gonna do it next Monday. If y'all want to join us, we're gonna be live streaming Dream Warriors. So if anybody who hasn't seen it or wants to watch it with us, we'll be putting Dream Warriors up and we'll be watching it. Y'all are more than welcome to join us with it. Um, we'll be
Have to
back
get him
next
some.
Wednesday to talk about it. We hope to see you all there. Jason, any final words for the counselors
No,
joining us?
nope. I just said nope, and then I'm gonna roll into some last words. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. No, I was just gonna say that probably need to throw out. we'll hit you guys up with a time on the movie, probably 8:30, just to kind of keep in line with what we've got going on. Um, Jeremy, is the Discord channel set to private, or do we gonna have to send out? We gonna have to send out invites?
No, we will post the Discord link that we'll be showing it through on our Facebook. And then me and Jason will be personally sharing them onto our personal ones. So if anybody wants to join us, all you'll have to do is click on the link and join the channel that you see everybody going into. If you have a headset and a microphone, you'll be able to
Oh,
talk with us and stuff. So we'll love to have you. Honestly, it'd be a lot of fun, and then we can, like I said, next Wednesday talk about it. This one
yeah,
is
that'll.
Jason's favorite out of the series.
Yeah, Dream. Like I said, as far as I remember, it's my favorite. It's probably because as they got the crazy hair metal soundtrack song, which I probably will play for people. Like if before that we get the movie started or right after the movie, I'm gonna slam that music video up there. So probably after. I'll do it after because I think there's clips from the movie in the music video itself. So probably do a closing out type of thing where we play Dream Warriors. But yeah, as far as I remember, this is my favorite movie because this is when they really start digging into the dream lore and stuff like that. They kind of start explaining a little bit, so I personally think it's probably going to be one of my more favorite ones. But yeah, we'll get that bad boy streaming for you guys on Monday, and then we can all meet back here on Wednesday and have a nice little chat about it.
Well, everyone, I hope you all have a safe night. Uh, y'all enjoy it, and we will see y'all Monday and next Wednesday. Thanks, guys.
Later.